Hello everyone and welcome to the BunkaMania Wrestling Podcast. I'm the giraffe and me, Jeremy Graves, and joining me is the Dekker Dane, Mr. Ian Bolton. Good sir, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
The reason he is doing great, everybody, is that at the time we're recording this at about 7:15 on Friday the 6th of January UK time, is within the last 24 hours, arguably the wrestling world has been turned upside down again, primarily because of the following news item, which we're going to try and sum up in a very succinct way, because to put it quite bluntly, loads of other places have covered this, so chances are you've already are aware of the news, but in case you're not, maybe you're someone who listens to our podcast, if you're subscribed to that, but come to YouTube to check it out and want to gauge our thoughts on this, because it's likely going to be a video-only thing. To give you the cliff notes, there was a Wall Street Journal article where, a few weeks ago now, where there was a random line in there that said something to the effect of Vince McMahon wants to come back because he felt he was given bad advice at the time everything happened that happened earlier last year. Was not bad advice. Go away. Suddenly, yesterday at the time we're recording this, it's announced, essentially, Vince is probably back. And this was following, in essence, him going to the board of directors, saying he wants to come back, the board of directors seemingly having the response effect of, no. And so then Vince McMahon then going to the shareholders of the company, because Vince McMahon is still a majority owner, I believe, so he still has voting powers and such within the company. Yeah. From that, he then basically told the shareholders, oh, I'm going to come back to facilitate a sale. Because, you know, nothing should really be approved from a sale perspective without me on board. Of course, one would have seen the shareholders like, oh, we're going to get sales. I mean, lots of money. We like money. We want more money. We get lots of money now, but we want more money. Surely, yes, more money. Yes, more money. Yes, money. Yeah. And then, but lo and behold, it's announced today, Friday the 6th of January, Vince McMahon has returned to the board of directors at the WWE. A Friday SEC filing confirmed, per the Wrestling Observer I'm reading this from, that former WWE chairman and CEO Vince McMahon is officially back on the company's board of directors, with 3 existing seat holders ousted and 2 others resigning. Ian, there's a lot more we can go into on this. Again, folks, you can read the news elsewhere. You can hear lots of other places go into it in depth. We're just going to give our thoughts on this, as it were. On a top-line level, this is utterly insane this is happening.
A lot of people have quite rightly compared this to a season of Succession, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, it's... I mean, the fact of the matter, one of the things that stuck out is, like, I don't find it too utterly surprising, per se, because when Vince left, he was still majority shareholder with the Class B, I think, type of shares that gives him, like, even though he has less than 40% of actual, ownership of the company, but he has 80% of the voting rights. I'm not sure that's the correct figures, but that's ballpark ideas of of how much control Vince has in making decisions. So him coming back is not entirely surprising. It makes you worry. It makes you a little bit fearful for certain aspects of the WWE product at the moment, especially the on-screen stuff, which I think a lot of people are unified in saying it has been significantly better over the last 6 months, and that's mostly because the work Triple H has been doing in terms of bringing wrestlers back, in terms of focusing on the wrestling and trying to deliver coherent storylines, it is working. And fans have been really reciprocal about that. So obviously Vince coming back with complete sort of control of what happens, what goes on and all that sort of stuff, it makes you very worried that he's coming back under false pretenses. He says he's there to facilitate a sale. If he's there to facilitate a sale and make it and actually sell WWE and then leave, fine. It's a necessary evil that has to happen. But if this is the way we finally get rid of Vince McMahon, it's a possibility. But this is Vince McMahon, and I think a lot of people who follow wrestling and know a lot about wrestling, especially if they're well versed in wrestling, know Vince McMahon doesn't necessarily mean well half the time on things. So it's kind of he's coming in for one thing, but he might end up staying for another, or just kind of going, no, I'm just gonna pick up everything and pretend that none of the last 6-8 months has happened. And I think if that was to happen, I think it would do some irreparable damage. I think not just with fans, I think with certain talents who are there and are clearly happier that he's gone or he was gone. But yeah, it's like from a business perspective, fine. If it needs to be done, so things like TV rights deals can be renegotiated. If WWE is going to be sold or something like that, fine. But I think the big worry for a lot of people is he is going to get involved in creative again, and we have seen how bad it got at the start of the year last year. So it's kind of like, I really don't want to go back to Royal Rumble bollocks. I really don't. But I have a fear it will. And I think that's the general unease about this situation. And also from a moral standpoint, Vince is a horrible person. Vince is a despicable person. I think anyone who does decide to buy WWE, and if it even actually happens, I don't think anyone's going to want Vince around. We'll come back to that a little bit about the sell in a second. I think I've talked for a little bit, so let's get your thoughts on this, Jeremy.
I've sort of listened to a few different podcasts, like Fightful did a piece about this late last night, Wrestle Talk did a thing, so hence some of the other references I've been mentioning. And one of the points, and I can't remember from which show it was that was made, is it's such a Vince thing this has happened the way it has, because he needs to be in control. And the fact he effectively went around the board of directors, to which I'm pretty sure one of the quotes in the press release that Vince McMahon issued himself, quote unquote, because it was clearly a team of people, but you know what I mean, effectively said he is very happy with how the company has been run. Here it is. Here is the quote. WWE has an exceptional management team in place, and I do not intend for my return to have any impact on their roles, duty, or responsibilities. Why did he go through the shareholders to get back into power then? It's mainly because he's seemingly already changed a rule within the company that means any kind of sale or rights management thing that is agreed has to go through him. He effectively has to have approval on it, which means it can't be sold unless he's actually happy with the sale. So I've got so many thoughts on this. So honestly, this may be a cynical take, but this is actually coming from a personal line of experience. And I'm not sure if anyone else is considered here, but this is literally going from a personal experience of which I'm going to redact names in certain circumstances. But literally, Ian, this has gone on for 20 years of my life. And there might be a bit of reading between the lines to have to go through this, but indulge me for a minute. Let's call it like this. There was a messy divorce in the family. I'll say that much, because I think that kind of keeps it open-ended. It ultimately involved a house being part of the proceedings where a court judgment ruled the house needed to be sold. And it had to be sold as a matter of priority so that then the funds could be divvied up, and then that's all resolved. 15 years later, this had not been resolved. It was still ongoing, and there was seemingly no end in sight, despite the fact that mortgage companies have been trying to repossess it, and then somehow the repossession got stopped and whatnot. It's one of those things where you're just like, is this ever going to end? How is this still going? And ultimately, just to kind of actually put a bow on that part of the conversation, there was ultimately a resolution, one that no one expected, but the long and short of it is, my side of the family is no longer involved in any of that and whatever happens to that house now. So we are completely free of it, and we're so happy about it. Just to put a positive bow on that part of the conversation. The reason I mention this is because I fully expect Vince McMahon has got back into power to potentially say, oh, I'll facilitate a sale, but then he won't actually sell it. And then what he'll do is he'll just drag his feet. People will come to him with offers, and people will be like, yeah, this is a really good offer. You know, there's good money all around. There's a good incentive package, And he'll just go, nah. Because literally from life experience, that's what I've had to go through when it comes to the thing I just referenced in a very broad way. I can see Vince McMahon dragging his heels to a tremendous degree to where people in the company are going to be utterly sick of him being back if they aren't already. because of that, just on a top line level relating to a potential sale, let alone anything else he may eventually be involved with again or not. But ultimately, dragging of the heels when it comes to trying to facilitate a sale of something is something that someone can manipulate to their own gain to an incredible degree. Again, I have the personal experience knowing that and having to be the one to just effectively being just part of the conversation, but can never actually act on anything to help make it go through.
Yeah.
As it were. That's why I've got that very strong feeling about that. But the other bigger element here is, quite frankly, and I don't care if this ultimately gets back to someone else and they see me say this, based on everything that's come out about Vince McMahon since July of last year, that's when he resigned as both chairman and CEO. So we're probably talking about May, June time when a lot of these allegations started coming out. It's not even been a bloody year. Vince McMahon, based on that information, he's an utter scumbag, quite frankly, and shouldn't be anywhere near this company again on the way he has treated women. It's utterly deplorable he is back. Whatever his actual motive is, whether he genuinely feels he got bad advice or he feels he's not done anything wrong, doesn't change the fact he's an utter scumbag and shouldn't be back. But you know what? It's such a Vince way that he has got back into this. He's literally muscled his way back in with total control. And whatever happens now happens. But I will say this, and I'm probably going to have to eat my words in saying this. If he ends up back with a big... No, I'm going to phrase this delicately here. If he is back in the creative element of the company in any way, shape, or form, I will seriously question whether I ever watch any WWE again. I mean, I don't watch a lot of it as it is. We've said it before. I mainly watch AEW stuff. I watch a lot of Japanese stuff and indie stuff. Only reason I really watch WWE stuff is because we like to do this show and we like to talk about premium live events and stuff. Or the odd Raw and SmackDown here and there. But honestly, this is making me, for the first time in a very long time, question whether I actually want to watch two of my favorite events of the year in the Rumble and WrestleMania. And we're only 6 days into the year, Ian.
It's like with the whole thing about the Vince stuff from last year, it's like anyone who is even going to remotely look at a possible buying of WWE, they're not going to keep Vince. They're not going to take Vince. I don't think anyone in their right mind's going to bloody take Vince. You're right. There's a sense of there might be dragging the feet, or there's going to be an absolute stalemate in trying to sell this company. There's also a note on the WWE article that's saying a sale is not guaranteed. So it's like so it's like they're already kind of going, well, we said it for one reason, but it might not actually happen.
I didn't know that was actually in the press. I hadn't actually read the press release in its entirety. So all the stuff I said that I think will happen when it comes to dragging the sale, I said that not knowing that line was in that text. And the fact that's even in there makes me think that even more now.
So yeah, to confirm, on the WWE press release on their website, on the corporate website, it says, in connection with the change in the composition of the board of directors and in cooperation with Vince McMahon as a majority shareholder, the company intends to undertake a review of its strategic alternatives with the goal being to maximize value for all WWE shareholders. There are no assurances that this process will result in a transaction.
Which, the way that's phrased, I get that's them covering themselves. That very much feels like a line of, look, this is, like you said, this is our intent, but like all things in life, not everything's guaranteed. But the fact, out of interest, how far into the release is that? Like, was it quite a way down in the text, or was it buried in it? Or
the discussion on the Fightful podcast or live stream about this yesterday kind of just saying we will never fully understand what is going on in the corporate boardroom at WWE, and unless it gets reported by Wall Street Journal, we will never necessarily get that full information. So it's hard trying to be devil's advocate on this and trying to see kind of like an optimistic side. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, and they actually mentioned this on Fightful, it's basically complaints about Vince McMahon were never at a business level. Business always seemed to be fine. It was the creative level where a lot of the criticism and a lot of the frustrations, I think, with Vince over the last couple of years have really been. So if, again, it's like I said, if if this is going to be a legitimate attempt to try and sell the company or try to get better value for the company when it comes to like the TV deals with Fox, with USA, despite the sheer insanity of it and the sheer just moral bankruptcy of it all, it's like if it gets it done, it gets it done. And if that's as far as Vince goes in WWE now, I don't like it, but if it's gonna help the company move forward and path of a new forward or something like that, maybe I don't know. It's the creative and the on-screen talent I'm worried about. That's the thing, because the wrestling has been good, the content has been good. It's not been perfect, but it's been a damn sight better than it has been. And if that crumbles within so much as like a month or even a few days of Vince coming back, this is going to be a very bumpy year for WWE.
SmackDown tonight, at the time we're recording this, it's not aired yet, is going to be very interesting, purely to see, is there any significant changes which feel so left field for how the show has been in the past 6 months? That's going to be a very telling sign. I don't even want to bridge the question, will Vince appear on TV? Because if he does, I'm done with WWE probably. I know I alluded to it a few minutes ago. At that point, it's like, no, like, I don't know if I can morally do that anymore. And I don't want to say that. I've said it now, so I'm kind of locked into it. But that's just how I feel about it. But I don't know, why am I even going to say this? In the interest of trying to play devil's advocate here, with seemingly the devil himself, if Vince McMahon has got the genuine thought of, you know what? I actually just want to sell this now. I've not done anything creatively like that for 6 months. I've probably still been doing stuff in the back end we're never going to know about. If hypothetically he genuinely just wants to go, you know what? I'm 77, whatever he is now, 78 or so. I just properly want to just chill out now. Just sit back, retire. I don't want to have to worry about that. If he's genuinely just of the mindset, I want to sell it, but I want to control the sale and make sure I get the right price, quote unquote, for it, I can get that to a point. I just do not agree with the way he has done this at all. Regardless of everything else I've said, I do not agree with the way he has facilitated himself back into all of this.
Yeah, it's a power play. And especially when his press release says he will not agree to any media rights deal or sale without his approval, is again, it's holding the company hostage.
Which is why, Vince McMahon, I want to issue you the official offer from me, Jeremy Graves, of £1.50 GBP for the sale of the WWE. I will happily add an extra 50p to count towards some kind of ludicrously low sales tax. That is my official offer to you. I expect a formal response within two working days. There you go.
You know what? I think you can do better. I think you need to change that to £1.50, a book token, and a Cadbury's cream egg.
Is it a book token for the WWE Encyclopedia?
Let's just say, if you never know, if Amazon go, hey, we'll buy WWE for you. Maybe it could be for Kindle. Maybe for the App Store.
You know what? I'll tell you what. Let's wrap up the conversation with this then, as a potential fun, really pie in the sky idea. Let's assume this year WWE does sell. Vince McMahon sells it. He's done with it. Who are some of the potential things or people that we could see buying it? There's a very obvious wrestling one of how much money has Tony Khan got in a checkbook? Just saying. There's also, I'll throw out another one for you. A bit left field here, but I think everyone can get why I'm thinking this. What if Disney bought WWE?
I think Disney hosts some of WWE programming in other territories, I think, at the moment. I might be wrong on this. But I mean, it's like, out of all the potential suitors, I kind of like the idea of Disney buying. I kind of like the idea of Disney buying WWE, simply because it's like, well, they've got their sports channels, they've got ESPN, so there's that opportunity. You can move mostly the network over to Disney Plus. I mean, it's worked well with Star. It's one of the I think, personally for me, it's one of the best streaming services out there.
Obviously, they own 20th Century Fox, So
yeah, you can imagine a Disney park now having WWE Land. Give us WWE coasters. Yes, this is exactly what I want. Exactly.
we'll have the freaking roller coaster.
It would be quite fun, but it's like I think out of the lot, I kind of want Disney because I just think it would be, in one side, bizarre but also fantastic at the same time. It's like how Disney Plus have Bleach at the moment, and it's like, what madness?
Yeah, one of the
is
longest
this?
running anime series, and they've just are now randomly showing it. It's very amusing. Who else is there that could buy WWE, be it company or person? I'm just trying to think.
Do not rule out NBC Universal or Comcast, because they currently own Peacock, they do the network. The relationship has been very, very strong, especially with USA Network doing Raw, doing NXT. I mean, Amazon have been kind of branched out into live sports recently. Obviously, they've done Premier League here in the UK. They've done tennis and so forth. Again, it gives them content, and I mean, they did it with the MGM. They theoretically own the Bond films and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, why not have our own sort of action universe of sports entertainment, which again they could tailor off, do the TV shows, do the animations, do the movies, and all that sort of stuff that's there. It's the same with Netflix. Netflix have done a couple of WWE things. They did the Main Event, which was a weird film, which was pretty much bolstered by a Keith Lee starring role, which came out of nowhere. There was
the Undertaker thing.
Yeah, Escape the Undertaker and so forth. So it's like they've done some stuff with Netflix. So again, Netflix is a viable possibility. Again, but I guess the thing with Netflix a little bit is kind of like their unpredictability in supporting the stuff that they either produce or they buy and so forth. Case in point, the ship drama, I think 1899. That's only had one season, and they've said nah. It's like the same with the Bebop. Bebop, they went nah. It's like One Piece is coming at some point this year. That's not surviving.
So, can I throw out one more idea for you before we close out this video? I'm going to say a name, and I want to just see your reaction, as it were. Because I don't think this is out of the realm possibility. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
He's brought the XFL. It would not surprise me. I think it'd be quite funny. And it's like, oh yeah, what is your biggest stars has come back and actually brought the company off you. But then again, I think if The Rock brought it, again, The Rock would go, hey, Triple H is doing a good job. I'm just going to let Triple H do what he needs to do. Do not rule that out, to be perfectly honest, because if he's brought it. But then again, he did buy the XFL after Vince said it was bankrupt. Yeah, I'm not sure if Vince has been happy that that Dwayne went and bought the XFL.
So we're calling it now, folks. Disney versus The Rock to buy WWE sometime in the next 10 years. There you go. That's a prediction.
God, what if that is the kayfabe storyline of The Rock coming into WrestleMania? It's kind of like, I'm going to buy this. If I beat Roman Reigns, I'm going to buy this company.
It'll be like the final Nitro. Except instead of Shane McMahon walking out, The Rock walks out and goes, I own it.
No, if you really want to cement the Bloodline as one of the most dominant heel factions of all time, The Rock comes in. He buys WWE, and he says that, and he's basically, this is the Bloodline's playing ground. Off you go.
It's a parting gift to Roman.
Yeah, it's like we utterly. It's like, you're the head of the table. Now go show how it's done.
You're the head of the table. Now you have the head table at WWE.
It is. You're at the boardroom, and he's just going, I don't like this, wise man. Sami Zayn coming in with a wacky business suit and tie, going, I'm here to run it for Roman.
Walks into WWE headquarters, goes into the boardroom, walks into Vince's boardroom, sees that wacky dinosaur skeleton behind his table and goes, the heck?
Just put up a giant picture. Of Roman and Paul Heyman, just in the same position they'll always stand in the office. So it's like you're looking up and it's like, oh dear Lord, no.
Just can't
I'm
get
not
away
sure
from
how much of this is going to stay in. This way.
Well, folks, thank you very much for watching this video. Do let us know what you think of this. Are potentially our buyer predictions ridiculously crazy? Or do you also agree that Vince is a bit of a scumbag? Let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you. And of course, make sure you check us out on audio platforms as well. Search for BunkaMania. You will find our podcast feed just there for when we have a new podcast to bring to you. From myself, Jeremy Graves, from him, the Dekker Dane, Mr. Ian Bolton, why not give a like on the video for him? We'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching, and speak to you soon.